B&R Computers in Pennsylvania. Today we're having a webinar on why cyber insurance won't save you and what will. So we're going to have a review of some of the most common misconceptions on cyber insurance and what you can do to be sure that when there's a breach at your business, you will be covered by your insurance carrier. So with that said, let's get started. So the problem is that most business owners think that they're covered, but in actuality, they're not. We see this time and time again. Businesses have cyber insurance, but then there are requirements of the insurance company that the businesses are not abiding by. So if there's a breach, or when there's a breach, the business will not have coverage paid out. So the quote is, "We have cyber insurance, we're covered." This is an assumption that puts a lot of companies out of business. So 40% of cyber claims are disputed or denied by insurance companies. The average ransomware downtime is 21 days. Most times, cyber insurance does not pay for downtime. And then the average loss per day during a breach for most businesses is $74,000. So every day that you're down, you could potentially be losing an average of $74,000 worth of revenue in your business. So today's briefing, we're covering the false sense of security, so why business owners think that they're covered and why they're wrong. Number two is what insurance covers versus what it doesn't. The fine print is often written specifically to deny your claim. Remember, the insurance companies are in business to make money, so wherever they can deny a claim, they will. And then what actually protects you. So the three controls that most insurance carriers now require and that help prevent or mitigate breaches. To be honest, I don't like to say prevent breaches because nothing is 100%. So we often say mitigate. You're lessening, you're lowering the risk that you're going to be breached. So part one, the false sense of security. So up to 40% of insurance claims are disputed or denied because the fine print is often written to protect the insurance carriers and not you, the customer. So there's often 4 areas where there are exclusions. So inadequate security controls. So if you don't have multi-factor authentication enabled on your email or critical business accounts, and you often need proof that you've got these things enabled. And then no patch management. So no ensuring that software, Windows, third-party apps, that everything is up to date. And then no EDR. So this is endpoint detection and response, which is basically like an antivirus program on steroids. It's not antivirus. It's a lot better than antivirus. So with inadequate security controls, they will often deny a claim. Unencrypted data. So if your computers are not encrypted and the data that you're transmitting, via email or over the web, if it's not encrypted, they will deny your claim. Acts of war, so nation-state attacks increasingly excluded by carriers. So think of countries like North Korea. They are so secluded from the rest of the world, but they often have some of the most brilliant hacking minds because that is how they're making money. So countries like that, or war. Think about when Russia invaded Ukraine. There was an increase in cyber attacks. When the United States invaded Iran, there was a lot of Iranian cyber attacks on Israel and the United States. So it's, world events definitely can cause increases, but oftentimes those are not covered by insurance companies. And then human error. So if your employee clicks a phishing link and enters their information thinking it's a legitimate login, that will often be denied a claim. So what insurance covers versus what it doesn't. So the average ransomware downtime is 21 days. Your insurance is not going to pay your payroll. So those 21 days that you're down, do you have enough funds in the bank to cover operational expenses during that time? So what it might cover is some legal fees associated with the breach, public relations or crisis communications, ransomware payment, but that's only sometimes, and then breach notification costs. So very basic coverages, not gonna keep the business in business. And then what it won't cover. So operational downtime and lost revenue, reputational damage and client loss. So usually when a business gets breached, they will lose some amount of clients because the clients no longer feel that their data and information is safe with that business. And then if you have to rebuild your systems from scratch, that's not going to be covered by the insurance company. Employee productivity loss. So, your employees are sitting idle and not doing anything. There's no way to recoup that productivity. And then if there's any kind of HIPAA or compliance fines, whether it's HIPAA, PCI, FTC safeguards, there's often compliance fines involved in breaches, and insurance companies are not going to pay that. Part 3, so what actually protects you? So the same controls that get your claim paid are the ones that prevent you from needing to file one in the first place. So multi-factor on all systems. This is a non-negotiable for most carriers. So no multi-factor authentication equals no policy or no payout. So again, email systems and critical business accounts that you log into, you've got to have multi-factor authentication enabled on all of that. And then it will reduce your credential breach by up to 99%. It significantly lessens the risk that your systems are going to be breached. And then EDR on all endpoints. So basic antivirus is no longer acceptable. Carriers want behavioral monitoring. So what that means is traditional antivirus is just going to react. Oh, looks like a virus. Let's quarantine it. EDR will actually monitor your system, and if something appears like ransomware when it encrypts a system, EDR will pick that up that something weird is happening here, and it will actually stop it and monitor it going forward, and then it'll alert whoever is monitoring your systems, whether it's an IT provider or you have an in-house IT company. It will alert them that something weird is going on. So this definitely catches attacks that legacy antivirus misses. And then you've got to have your backup and recovery plan documented. And also tested. So if it exists, that's one thing, but it must be tested in order to know how it flows and how it works. You must prove that you can recover when there's a breach. So this eliminates leverage that ransomware holds over you. So ransomware will encrypt your systems and cause your business to stop immediately. If you've got a backup and recovery plan, you'll know how to move forward with the business while everything else is going on with the ransomware situation. So those 3 main items are pretty much required by almost all insurance carriers at this point. And then would your policy actually pay out? So does every employee in your business use multi-factor on every system and not just email? If the answer is no, then your insurer can deny the claim. Have all of your systems, including third-party apps, been patched in the last 30 days? So not just Windows updates. We're all used to Windows updates happening usually on a weekly basis, if not bi-weekly at least. But think of Adobe or any other programs you use on your computer. They all get software updates as well. And most often, unless you update them yourself, they don't get patched. So a lot of carriers now require that you have proof that you are patching and updating your systems to eliminate those vulnerabilities that happen in that software as time goes on. So it's failure to maintain controls, exclusions apply. And then do you have EDR and not just antivirus on every endpoint? If the answer is no, they consider that inadequate security controls, and it's going to be an exclusion for a claim. And then have you tested your backup recovery in the last 90 days? And if the answer is no to that one, you've got no proof of recovery. Having backups is one thing, not knowing whether they work or not because you're not testing them. No backups that are tested are basically as good as no backups at all. Because oftentimes we find that backups that are untested, probably about 50 to 60% of the time, there's an issue when you go to restore. So backups must be tested, we say, on at least a monthly basis to ensure that they are viable. And again, the insurance companies require that they're being tested at least in a frequent interval. So how can we help? B&R Computers offers a business risk review. It's a 30-minute call. We will ask a series of questions. It's about 24 questions. Doesn't take very long. And if you answer them honestly, we will be able to assess your risk currently. And at the end of the call, we will then provide you with a summary of everything that was discussed, the answers to the questions. And if you've already got an IT person in-house or an IT provider that you work with, you can then take this summary list. And if there's any actionable items, say that you're like, well, I'm not sure if I've got multi-factor enabled. In the summary, we would have that. Take that back to your IT provider and say, can you ensure that we've got multi-factor enabled on all of our critical accounts? These are the types of things that providers and IT departments should be doing. So, if you don't have anyone that you're working with, obviously B&R Computers, we do that on a daily basis. So that's also something we can help with if you prefer. So stop guessing where you stand. Let us know. Let us show you exactly what's exposed. So in the assessment, we'll review the multi-factor and access controls, patch compliance, how often are you updating systems, and then whether you've got EDR, the endpoint detection and response software, or just traditional antivirus. We'll figure out the gaps there. And then your backup and recovery verification. Are you actually confirming backups are good, or are you getting an email that says the backups are successful and just assuming you're good to go? Because that's not enough. So again, we're here to help, and with 30-minute free review, there's no obligations. There's no switch to us to be your IT provider. We're just here to help and ensure that businesses understand their risk. And, again, if you come to us and want us to help, then great. But that's not what we're here for. So if you have any questions or you'd like to get started on your own risk review, we've got the link there is businessrisk.b&rcomputers.com. And then also our phone number, 484-641-8083. Give us a call. We'd love to help and make sure that your business is protected. Thank you for your time. I hope that you found this webinar informational and you learned something. All right. Thank you.